Well, g'day and welcome to the update for August 2021, which is also the start of Home Loan Hacks episode 12. Not a lot of change externally, interest rate environment, etc. Property market still going quite strongly. There's been a big rise in the last 12 months, which we did talk about in last month's update. So market's still quite strong. Availability of stock is quite low, and still seeing very strong activity in our office of buyers and refinancers. Starting to see a bit more on the next home buyer and some of our first home buyers who are buying at a higher level, partly due to the market creep. Also, there was changes to the first home loan deposit scheme, which you might or might not have been alerted to. So some changed limits and some changed schemes. So check in if you want to talk about that, if that's of interest, the low deposit first home buyer basically. Interest rates, interesting looking across at this graph in historical context. The interest rates for the last 30 years, this is off the Reserve Bank site today. Now, this is way back in the 1990 era, but coming down quickly, that was a different world basically. Through the channel of 95 through to the GFC, this is a cash rate of about 5% to about 7%. So that equates to a home loan rate of around 7 to 10%. And then since 2011, it's all been downhill. So since late 2011, there hasn't been a rate rise by the Reserve Bank. So most recently, we're at 0.1% cash rate, which equates to a home loan rate variable of about 2.5% or 2.7%, depending on the lenders. And in terms of fixed rates, they're extremely competitive right now. The Reserve Bank has been putting a lot of funds into supporting fixed rates and supporting the banking system. And that means that fixed rates are still around 2% for 2 and 3 year fixed. So pretty exciting. A lot of our clients going for that with the trend of mildly increasing midterm. Some things in our office, we've started some online events. So if you go to the Loan Market Richmond Facebook page, you'll see some events have popped up. We ran just recently a money masterclass, and we thank money mentor Adele Martin for running that for us. That was awesome, and a lot of great feedback from that session. We've got upcoming a few sessions. There's a corporate state one this week. There's also, and that's more a state of the market. There's another one that many will be interested in, first home buyer event coming up, online event, all about qualifying, how much you can borrow, some of the schemes, so more extensive information there. Also running an investor session coming up and a session answering questions about refinance. So a couple to look out for there on the Facebook events page. The topic of the month this month, so for those that listen to the full version, is 2 sessions I run for my clients in terms of the purchase process. So the first one is about exchanging, cool off, settlement, exchanging contracts, obviously, rights and responsibilities, some of the terms to expect, and the different ways that might occur. So with a call off, without a call off, or at an auction, and extending that into the loan space and at what stages we're doing the loan approval process, and what also your conveyancer or solicitor is doing to support you as well. So that's a really popular session we run for our buyers between when they're getting pre-approved and when they're seeking to buy. The second session is one I call negotiation tips, and it's all about working with the agent and working in that environment to understand and negotiate the best outcome. So to help you be empowered to make decisions and to move forward. So I hope you enjoy those. So that's it for the month of August 2021. I hope you enjoy the special features and stay safe. G'day. Well, I'm really pleased to bring you this special feature, which is all about the purchase process. So exchanging, cool-offs, how does that change in a 66W or an auction situation? What are the steps involved? Where does the loan fit in? Working with your agent and your conveyancer. It's something I'm really proud to help my clients with. I really get satisfaction in helping them get an amazing outcome, and let's get started and get into it. Okay, you'll see now the some slides. Now, I don't apologise for the fact that these are actually hand-drawn. It's a throwback from the way I've done it in a notepad, sitting over a table with clients, but going electronic, I didn't see a reason to change that part of it. The basic process is 6 weeks. I'll do standard first, and then I'll talk about what might change. So from exchanging contracts, that's a physical thing where it might be paper or electronic, but you sign one side, the seller signs the other side, and an authorised entity, the agent or the conveyancer solicitor, exchange them. When you hold the signature of the other party is when you have legal rights. So that's an important thing. The exchange means the dated, signed signature of the other party, exchange contract. That's when you have certainty. The normal process is 6 weeks or 42 days in New South Wales through to the settlement day. So that's the day that you own a property, you get a mortgage, the bank, you have a loan to the bank that you're paying them back, and happy days, that's celebration day. All right, so the traditional purchase looks like this. A cooling off period where you pay 0.25% deposit at the exchange, and you have 5 working days in which you can withdraw. So if you are buying for, say, $800,000, that's 8 2s are 16, 8 5s are 40, about $2,000. So $2,000 you put cash down and you do all your due diligence, which we'll talk about in a sec. So traditionally, as I say, 5 working days, and at the end of that, paying a 10% cash deposit. So what changes, or what can change? If you look at this slide, you might look at, commonly these days, people ask for a 10-day cool-off. A lot of purchases in the Hawkesbury area where I primarily work do have cool-offs, and it is a situation where that can be negotiated. And commonly, noting how banks and the legal process can take time, 10-day cool-off is becoming far the norm. It might also be acceptable to pay a 5% cash deposit. So using that $800,000 purchase, $40,000 instead of $80,000. It may also be a deposit bond, and we'll work through that. On the left, you'll see in the green, obviously negotiating the dollars, the details on the contract, and having agreements on those things. That's your solicitor who'll advise you on that. And down the bottom, you see I noted it could be, say, a 12-week settlement. Now, we'll come up to that in the negotiation tips session, but it might be really helpful to the seller to have more time that they can get the certainty of their sell and have more time to look for their home. So that actually could help them a lot and might just get you a better outcome. That's something you'll work with the agent on. Okay, it gets a bit messy here, and I'll put myself over this bit so it's not quite as bad. With the loan side, it would be ideal and preferred to have your pre-approval lodged before you're negotiating. It's common enough, it all happens at once. Commonly, people don't want to take action until they find the right place. But it is tricky to get the loan going and the exchange and the call-off and everything all at once. So it's far better to get a pre-approval first. They generally last 6 months, some are 3 months. That's a whole different topic, but getting pre-approved first would be really helpful. And then during the cool-off, you've got a bunch of due diligence to do. So valuations, building and pest if it's a Torrens property, or strata reports if it's a strata property. Your conveyancer or solicitor is going to help with all that part. The valuation will get done by the bank if needed, and that'll be sometimes an automated process, sometimes accepting the contract, sometimes they send a valuer out. Each bank and each situation and numbers are different, and we'd help you through all that. Further checks on the contract that your conveyancer or solicitor is doing. So that all takes time, and then later, if I move myself here, later, things like building insurance, are you protected, planning utilities and movement planning, and the bank loan agreements. So that's the basic steps in the process. So how does this change if we go to an auction? So with an auction, You basically front end everything. You need to agree on the contract. So your solicitor or conveyancer sending details to the other solicitor conveyancer to make sure things like on use of deposit, default interest rate clauses, any special conditions, any things that are needed are agreed before the auction. It might be a longer or a shorter settlement. It might be the type of deposit you're going to use. But all those things you would normally negotiate, some before and some during a cool-off, you need to do up front. How much deposit do you put down? So you would still be obliged for 10%, but how much are you paying or offering? You need to be 100% sure before the auction because you'll have a 10% commitment on auction day. You need to be pre-approved as strongly as you can, and you can't get a full approval before an auction because you don't know the price. But you can get a very strong pre-approval, and that might be suitable. Particularly for someone who's in a strong situation or a next home buyer, it's not a big deal. For someone who's right on the margins, that's a considered risk you need to talk to your solicitor about. Reports like building and pest or strata and all the due diligence you need to do before. And you need to note that the full approval is going to come after the auction. But it's a considered staged risk. You can get a lot of certainty in the process before the auction. So all something to consider. A nuance on that is if there's no call-off offered. This is commonly in the city, in the eastern suburbs, inner west, North Shore, sometimes in the Hawkesbury, particularly if it's a race to exchange situation and the agent considers it's the fairest way to offer all parties, put your best foot forward, give us a number, and we will sign with the first party ready. Now, with that, you want to get as much certainty as you can on the contract. So some conveyancers, some agents will either prepare the details on the contract, so write up all the details, and or even have a signed vendor copy, but not dated, which is not yet an exchange contract. Or particularly a sales advice is the instructions that an agent commonly writes up prior to exchange or during the process, and that gives confidence where we may be able to get a full approval before the unconditional exchange. So again, front-ended like an auction, have to be 100% sure. You want to get the strongest documentation you can, and we need to pick targeted lenders. So if these types of purchases are likely for you, we need to be focused on getting the right lender for you. All the searches up front, as we said. You'd ideally really want to be fully approved before the exchange, and it's a matter also of speed. So speed in lender, capacity to do the right thing for you is really important. So we'll work together on trying to get to the best outcome. So that's a little about the purchase process. If you want more, there is a lot on our YouTube channel. Check us out on Google and give us a call. Be happy to chat about it. There's a second linked session that I'll have also in this podcast and also online, which is all about negotiation tips. I hope you found that useful. Feel free to give me a call to talk about your own situation, and I look forward to helping you and your family and friends. Well, g'day, and very excited to join you for this second in the purchase process series. It's a special feature on negotiation tips. It's something that I'm really proud to help my clients with, and working together with your agent and your solicitor or conveyancer, we hope to get you an amazing outcome to get you to your new home or investment property. I've helped over 1,000 clients and experiences of all types of transactions, and really enjoy helping them get a great outcome. What I've got here is actually an email drafted that I run a session for my clients, and this is a generic version. So if I cut across to that now, I say to them, this is an email that I'm going to send you after our session. It'll be personalised to our discussion. You'll see there's a generic version of the conversation that we had earlier, which is all about the steps in a purchase, which was purchase process 1. So there's a YouTube link to that there, and this session is also on YouTube. In negotiating, I encourage people to think about themselves as a strong commodity. So the first phase is essentially them as a strong buyer, and to present themselves as best they can to give the agent plenty of ammunition to work with to make them an appealing person to sell to. The fact that they have a loan pre-approval is really important, and to let the agent know that and to communicate with the agent details where it's a strength for you. So is it fully assessed, just pending finding a property? How long it's for? Even if you go as far as confiding in the agent your buy range, there's nothing wrong with that. If you say up to 800, then that means up to 800, and if they show you properties over that, you're not able to participate. But as per personal choice, some people choose not to communicate a lot with the agent. That's up to them. I'm up for transparency and working together to get a great outcome. Talking to the agent about, hey, I know you get a lot of tire kickers. That's not us. We're genuine buyers. That's all great conversation to show that you're really keen, that you're not wasting anyone's time. The fact that you don't have a linked sale or buy, that's really important and useful information, because if you're a cashed up buyer with a clean purchase, then you don't have a linked sale transaction. Again, really helpful to give the agent information to present you strongly to the vendor. If you have a cash deposit, everyone loves the word cash. It's a beautiful word in our society. 10% cash, even better. I have a cash deposit. It's a really popular, keen thing. Having the other methods, which we talk about in a minute, are equally strong and equal responsibility, but a 10% cash deposit is always welcomed. If you're buying it as a home, that's a real positive. Everyone loves to see their home go to a good story. So if you're going to set up a home, set up a family, it's again, whatever you can convey to work with the agent to show your strength and show you as a great buyer. The next section I kind of call reality check for everyone, for you, for the agent, for what, let's keep it real, let's be grounded. The first one is for yourself, is to know your checklist. So compare it to what suburb, things like the size of the property. Does it have an ensuite? It's great for a young couple to get a small home with no ensuite, but if they have kids, it does get tougher. Second living spaces, sheds, hobby spaces, garages. What are the things that you need now or can build or grow into in the future? That helps give you a good reality check on what works for you. To be willing to say to the agent what works for you and what doesn't work for you. That gives them ammunition too, to talk to the vendor to say, oh, this kitchen and bathroom need renovating. They're happy to do it, but it has an impact on the value of the property compared to this other place. Knowing yourself, how much renovating would you realistically do? It's got to feel right. Knowing the address of other properties in the same price range and comparing and seeking the agent's counsel on how does this compare? Is this better? Is this worse? Again, working to get a fair outcome and helping you research. And we help our clients with Price Finder, suburb and property and sales information to give you a list to snoot through to find out, what are things going for, so you're on the right sort of zone of money. Need to get a good deal in terms of the price is important for you and for everyone. I comment on that again down lower. Keen to buy something soon to show the tempo, to show your interest, and that's really helpful. The fact that we can take action fast for the right deal, not every buyer can do that. So if you can do that, that's awesome. This bottom one's a big one. It's okay to comment on the negatives of the property. It's actually a really constructive part of the process for you and for the agent to convey to the vendor without being mean or rude or unkind or smart alecky. It's actually really constructive to be grounded on what's real. Next section I call clarification is making sure you know what's in the contract and what's included or excluded, and especially any unusual ones like garage shelving or extra nice curtaining or anything that might be seen as something that might be taken. I have had incidents where clients have had items that were there at presentation that weren't there at settlement, and it's messy. I've always personally preferred to put things on contracts. Things like dam pumps, garage shelving, dishwashers are general inclusion, but There might be things that you think are appropriate. When you think you're a realistic chance to buy the property, ask the agent for a copy of the contract. They'll be able to email that to you, and you can give us a copy, and also for your solicitor and conveyancer for them to review to position you to be ready quicker. Don't overdo this, but you might negotiate some items that you'd like to have left at the property. Maybe at the end of negotiations, and don't let it get in the way of the conversation. It's all about the bottom line, the price. Keep it simple. I would always call the agent first to tell them you're going to be sending an offer, and to talk the details through with the agent so they understand how you're thinking. Seek their advice. If they say a number that's higher or lower than you're thinking, work with them on that. You don't have to do exactly what they say. You're the one who makes the offer, and they convey it, and the vendor says yes or no. But if you seek their advice, you may just find you get a better outcome that way. I'll put in here the 10-day cool-off is important. It's really helpful because you can sign faster, you can get certainty, you can put not too much money down. Virtually every exchange for a well-considered buyer we've ever had does progress. Are you in position with the finance? Have you done reasonable initial due diligence? Have you thought it through? If you're well prepared, very few of those fall over, and the agent may well be able to negotiate that call off for you with a 10 days. See how you go. And then when it comes to sending an offer, it should be in writing. And so I have just a standard little one here that just has the details as a little ready reckoner for you. The price, holding deposit, call off, 6-week settlement, how much deposit, and how ready you are. Now, if that offer is accepted, that's great. Commonly there'll be a negotiation, and we can talk more about that. I encourage people to start solid, realistic in the price point, have a respectful situation, have a respectful offer, and then work with the agent to get the outcome. Be aware that you've got a few prices. You've got the amazing cartwheel price, you've got your wow, your good price, your bottom line price, and you've got a walkaway price. Just recognise with respect that the vendor has the same situation, and you might just not be able to get something together. You have to be realistic about the numbers and what's possible, and work with the agent to try and bring those together. I've seen a number of people who for a long time miss out because they're not realistic like that. So to be well researched, to be realistic, you're going to get a much better outcome. To say it's only worth this, or I'm only going to pay that, particularly if it's the current market, which is a really strong market, and properties are selling fast, it's just not realistic. I wish you well. The theory's easy. Be well researched, consult widely, research widely. I hope that our series and our information does help you, and work with your solicitor or conveyancer. They're the ones that help you with all the legal rights and responsibilities and what things mean, what you sign, terms, conditions, etc. Work with your agent to seek their counsel and advice, and get as much information to help you as you can, and we'll be in there as well helping you through that process. Hope that's been helpful. Any questions, call me, and if you're one of my clients, I'll be sending you this email shortly with your own personalised situation. Hope you enjoy the series. We're going to build in this series over the upcoming months. All the best. Thanks very much. And that's also the end of Home Loan Hacks Edition 12, which you can find on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and other places. All the best. Have a great month. Stay safe.